Local and live. Covering Franklin and Washington counties, it's Let's Talk TriState.
Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk TriState. We are here with one of our local authors, and I don't get to do many interviews like this, so I'm very happy. Only the second time I've interviewed a local author, and I'm honored to have you, Christopher Earley. What's up, my friend? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Do you prefer Chris or Christopher?
Chris.
Chris? Okay. I don't know if we're going to keep it casual. I mean, you are responsible for writing my goodness, this is a life's work here, all in one cover to cover here. So the book is called A Snapshot of Sacrifice. The overarching theme is World War II. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Before we dive into some of the specifics about the book and how you came about it, the idea, the genesis, and all the way through it until today, and the September 1st release of this book, let's talk about you. Where'd you grow up, and how'd you come to love World War II?
I grew up in a military family from San Diego, if this didn't give it away.
Okay.
My grandfather was in the Navy for 22 years, career. Both of my grandfathers were World War II veterans. One of them died when I was young, but I heard that a lot when I was a kid.
Sure.
About their service, and it just appealed to me. I wanted to go in the military myself, and I wasn't able to because of a health issue.
Okay. Gotcha.
But that's initially what got me interested.
Now, your grandfather that survived the war, were you close with him?
Yeah, very close. Yeah.
Okay. And would he share stories about his time? And
he would, and I was really, I was the only boy for a long time, so I was the only one who was interested.
Okay, gotcha. And what was his name?
Ed Sandusky.
And your other grandfather's name?
Glenn Earley.
Does this book incorporate both of them, or is it tied to it is
both of them and their brothers?
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's then, I think you kind of answered this question, but I do want to get to this. What inspired you to write this book? Because a lot of us have stories about our relatives. I can sit here and tell you a day's or two's worth of stories about my great-grandfather and grandfather. Sure. And I love those moments. I love talking about those nostalgic things. They make you feel good.
Sure.
But you have taken it a step farther, and you have compiled these stories. So tell us what caused that. What made you decide you wanted to do that?
Well, I can point to one incident. I couldn't tell you what year it was, but I was in a bookstore. I was in my early 20s. This is back home in San Diego. And there was I was there looking for a gift for my father. Mm-hmm. And this little guy came up to me, this little old guy, and he was there doing a book signing. And he's a Holocaust survivor.
Okay.
And he told me about his book. He just told me briefly about it. Said, I'd really like you to read my book. And I said, sure. Then he rolled his sleeve up and he showed me the tattoo.
Right. Yeah.
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
And that just set me about to try to tie in how my family fit into that.
Okay, great. From the other side then.
Yes.
He's going through basically the reason for the war. Correct. Ultimately, and the reason for America's involvement in it, and you're coming at it from our involvement in it.
Correct.
With your ancestors. Okay, so but that didn't begin your interest in World War II. I think you've basically laid out. That started with your grandfathers.
Yeah, I heard about it my entire life.
Yeah. Now, we often hear stories of people who grew up in military families, and your grandfather fought in the war and, had X, Y, and Z happen and was chased by the Germans or the Russians or whatever. Are those the types of stories that you heard? What types of stories did you hear?
I didn't hear anything like that. The grandfather who was still alive, he was in the Navy. So I heard a lot of fun stories.
Okay.
I did hear one bad story once, and that was a really awful memory for him. So that was hard to hear. But mostly it was funny stuff about being in the Navy, and I really liked that. But I also used to hear my great uncle on my dad's side. He was killed in action.
Okay. Now, are the stories that you researched for this, are they specific to your grandfather and grandfathers, or are they just things that happened, for instance, on a particular boat or submarine or whatever that your grandfathers were on? It's just something that happened within that particular group, or is it something directly tied to your grandfathers?
It's tied to them. It's basically their whole military service through the war, from beginning to end.
And then I think this is really going to speak to some folks who are watching and listening who have military family members. I would imagine that now I think it's vastly different. Things are more easily accessible.
Sure.
This was a lot of legwork for you. This was a lot of research. The question that I have for you regarding that research is, how do you go about finding stories about your specific ancestors? Because, and I'm by the way, I'm not diminishing anyone's service when I say this.
Sure.
But it's not like it was General MacArthur.
Right.
Everything's documented. It's not like it was Dwight Eisenhower where you can find every step that they took. So how do you go about finding your particular grandfather's stories?
That's a really good question, because a lot of people, especially now, are asking these questions. There's a lot of resources. In general, you're usually not going to get in official records your grandfather charged a hill and took out a machine, unless he got a really high award. In my case, on my grandfather's side, my mom's grandfather, all of those stories came from me personally. He told me.
Yep.
I found out some other things later via official records.
Okay.
Now, my other grandfather and his brother who was killed, I had to really dig deep. And one beautiful thing is my great-grandmother saved every letter that both those boys wrote home.
Wow, okay.
And that is a treasure trove.
I'm sure.
Every thought that went through their head. And that's what I based a lot of that side on.
Do you include those letters in their entirety, or are you drawing
Not in entirety,
from them?
just, it's a narrative. It goes through, when they first got there, what was happening when, in each theater of war, and I tried to incorporate those letters to explain how they were feeling.
Wow.
As much as they could divulge. A lot of times those letters are, there's really not much happening.
Right.
And you read the combat chronology, and there were really a lot happening going on.
Now, does this read more like a textbook, or is it more like a memoir in a way, a biography, so to speak, of their time there? How does it read?
Well, it's a personal narrative for me in my quest to find out.
Okay.
But what I also did to make it a little more palatable to people, some people don't want to read a combat chronology. That's just, I would, but...
Well, yeah, right, of course, I get it.
I used my skills as a writer to, I used like vignettes in the beginning of each chapter it's historical fiction, you could say.
Okay.
It's just my perspective of what they were going through, like, dialogue and whatnot. And then I tie that into going right into the history.
Gotcha. Wow, okay. Yeah. Now, so how long did it take you to, if you had to, and I'm sure you do, from start until, so we're finished now, obviously. It's all in production stages.
Yep.
The publisher, they have this thing, it's being printed as we speak, and it's set for September 1st release.
Yep.
So how long did it take you to get to where you are today working on this book?
Roughly 10 years.
Wow. Good for you. And how often would you say you worked on it? Was it something that was always kind of
Every
working,
day.
And when you had something, you jot down an idea, or, and did you take trips for this? I'm assuming.
Been to Europe 8 times for this.
Really?
8 times.
Now, your European trips, were they all centered around this, or it's just,
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Europe, so when I'm there, I'm going to do this?
It centered around this, and then I just went and had fun.
Wow.
After that.
Where are some of the more memorable places that you visited that you didn't necessarily expect were going to be, as you said, a treasure trove of information, but it really helped you in writing this book?
Normandy.
Wow.
My grandfather wasn't at Normandy, but his outfit was. And
Okay.
I wanted to find, I wanted to follow their path all the way through Europe. And seeing that cliff that they drove their tanks up, and standing on that in that cemetery. I mean, I think it was just crucial for me to see that, to convey that in my writing.
And in as much as that can even put it into your mind what they went through. I mean, we've all seen those reels that came through, and there was a statistic, and you will know what it is, so I'm not even going to try, but the statistic said something about a certain number of seconds was the life expectancy from when they landed on the beach if they made it off the boat.
Right, right.
What was that?
I couldn't give you an exact number, but
it was seconds. It was a very short amount of time.
In the first waves, yes.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. So not everyone is inclined to pick up a book about war, about World War II, or for various reasons. Some people may think, well, that's just not my thing. I think as an American, we should read things like this, and I plan to buy a copy of this and read it for sure. But what is it that you hope readers take from the Snapshot of Sacrifice?
My basic idea to convey to people is that I use my family as an example just to show what a typical family sacrificed during the war. They lost, my great-grandparents, they lost one son. One was horribly maimed.
Yeah.
Another one, he wasn't in the service yet, had been drafted, and he died of a hemorrhage. So they lost 2 sons.
Wow.
And then on the other side, my other uncle, he had a nervous breakdown. They would call it PTSD now, but he basically just lost his mind.
Yeah.
And then my other grandfather, he had You know, his war experience wasn't as traumatic, but he had some things that really bothered him. Yeah. And I wanted people to see this is a great country.
Oh yeah.
And people like they're not. What I was trying to convey is they're not special. The entire country came together.
They did.
And did this.
Yeah.
And I think that bringing those 4 stories together really shows as a whole, as a country, how we came together.
And I think too is that I always say that it's not that they are unique.
Right.
They're an example, and I think that speaks to the depth of this particular war. You know, there was the Great War, and then there's the Great War. Mm-hmm. But the depths that this thing goes to, that this event, and it goes so deep on so many levels and affects so many people, that I think for the repercussions of that war were felt for 30 years.
Oh yeah, or
if
more.
not longer. Yeah, and there's still. I think we have one is it one living World War II veteran? Is that?
Oh no, there's more than that.
I thought there were. I know locally there's one gentleman who just sang the national anthem at the Baltimore Orioles game, and it was that crowd just erupted.
Oh yeah.
Well, here you have a man who was 103 years old, and the things that he'd seen, the things that your grandfather saw, you can't put into words. But you've done your best to do that here. I cannot wait to read this. The book is called A Snapshot of Sacrifice. Online, Christopher Earley, that's EARLEY, ChristopherEarley.com. That's where you have all the info. And what I love about your website is you have, I was going to use the word snapshot, but I'm going to shy away from that. But you keep a blog on there.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, in a way, is coming into the book as well. You keep a blog of when you visited this location and that location, and how the writing's going, and keeping folks abreast of everything that you're putting into this, which is a lot of work. And this is a lifetime's worth of work. Yeah. And I wish you all the best and huge congratulations for this.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anything, I always ask this of all of our guests, is there anything that we didn't cover that you had wanted to cover? Is there anyone you wanted to talk about, or anything specific that we didn't get to?
Not really. I would invite anyone who has any questions about their family's military service. Find out and save it for your family, because it's so important. There were so many gaps in the service of my grandfathers and uncles that no one knew.
Right.
And now that's as a record to pass on and pass on and pass on. So they're never forgotten.
I think about this often. I don't mean to get off on a tangent here, but you hit on something for me personally. I talk about, with my daughter, who's 6 years old, I talk about my great-grandparents, so her great-great-grandparents. I talk about my memories with them a lot.
Yeah.
And my wife says to me sometimes, she goes, you're talking about people that she's never going to know. And I said, well, realistically, honey, if I'm not talking about them, I don't know when their names are ever invoked.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think, and it's kind of saddens me, because to me they were I mean, not just to me, but they were these wonderful people, pillars of their community, and it would give you the shirt off their back, and they did great things, and they lived through World War II and World War I as well. And my grandfather built, for Fairchild, he built, planes that were used in both those wars, and his wife, my great-grandmother, went to work as well for Fairchild. And it's just, you think, the moment that I stop talking about them, are they gone? Are they completely forgotten? And I'm not expecting my daughter to, be able to write a memoir.
But you put the thought in her head, and she's building curiosity as well.
Yeah, I mean, the pride that, I used to love when my dad would tell me about people I didn't know, that he knew, and was sharing with me those stories. And the fact that you were doing that in book form, you are basically what I would do for my great-grandparents, but you are just, making a chronology of the sacrifice that they put forth for their country and their fellow servicemen. I mean, that's, shoulder to shoulder with those guys. And I'm sure they had a lot of friends who went over there and they didn't come back with them.
They did, well, yeah. Oh, and my uncle didn't. Yeah. He was 21 when he was killed.
Now, you mentioned your grandfather's early on, but is your uncle referenced in the book at all? Is there any part of his story in there as well? 2 great uncles. My great uncle was really the impetus behind the whole book. Okay. He was 21. He was killed in Italy. His tank took a direct hit. I've stood on the exact spot. Wow. The exact road where his tank was hit. And when I would ask people in my family about him, no one could tell me anything. Okay. And that really bothered me. Yeah. But here's a guy who gave his entire life for his country. Yep. And that is what started it, really. I mean, it didn't start it, but that was kind of the center, was finding out about his service and where he was killed and how he was killed. So you probably heard when someone was talking about him, you probably heard, "Oh yeah, your uncle. What was his name?
Doral.
Your uncle Doral. He died in the, his tank got hit,
That's
that's where it ended.
That was it.
And you, I'm sure, knowing you probably thought, well, it shouldn't just. I shouldn't just know.
Right.
His tank was hit.
Exactly.
There's more to that. There were surrounding things that we should know. And like you said, someone who gave, as Abraham Lincoln said, their last full measure of devotion for their
100%.
country should be recognized in some way. And if it wasn't with medals, as it wasn't, then it can be on page. And that's what you've done. You've put ink to paper, and you have, in my opinion, you have given them a printed medal to remember their sacrifice. And I can't thank you enough for that. So
I appreciate it.
I'm really happy for you. I'm proud of what you've done and what you're continuing to do. And, September 1st is going to be a big day for you. So I'm really happy for you, my friend.
Thank you.
Chris Earley, thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk TriState. Website, ChristopherEarley.com. The book is called A Snapshot of Sacrifice. I encourage you to get a copy. Will it be available on Amazon?
Yes. It'll be primarily through Amazon.
Primarily through Amazon. And any other, I'm sure some local bookstores are going to pick up on this. And maybe we'll see you at a book signing down the road, okay?
Yeah, well, I'm planning to do some. I just don't have the dates yet.
Let's do it. Let's get it done. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Let's Talk TriState.
Let's talk TriState.
If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Let's Talk TriState, call 717-597-9200 or email letstalk@921thegoat.com.